Your next order of business is consideration of a certificate of compliance for the retail food store wine for Ingles Markets, doing business as Ingles Markets number 372, located at 4470 North Run Street. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors. The recommendation is for approval.
Is the applicant here? I recognized you from the store the other day. Yeah. We come on up just for a second? We'll get the formality out of the way. Oh, is this a,
Certificate.
never mind. Do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes, we've changed our procedure on the wine. It's not really our call, so you get this far, you got it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Next order of business is consideration of a temporary occasion license for Family Promise of Greater Johnson City to serve beer at Founders After 5 on July the 13th. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors. The recommendation is for approval.
The applicant here? Here.
Hello.
Good evening. You want to state your name and address for the record, please?
My name's Allison Smith. My address is 120 Hughes Street in Johnson City.
Good. And have you read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of beer in the city of Johnson City?
Yes, we have.
Do you agree to abide by those rules?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any questions for us?
No.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes. You want to take a minute and tell us about what you're doing? Go ahead and plug
Well,
it.
Founders After 5, I believe everyone is fairly familiar with that. Next Friday, July 13th, Bill and the Bells will be the music. So we expect a good turnout. I think most Fridays have been a great turnout, and the proceeds will benefit our homeless. We provide services to homeless families.
Very good. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
And just as a note, if you run out, you can go get it wherever you want, all right? You're not required.
Is that what's
Make
been
sure your
happening?
distributor,
Okay,
yeah, make sure the distributor comes well prepared. And if you run out, you can go wherever, don't run out.
okay.
You don't have to.
All right,
Before
duly
it
noted.
runs out, get some more. Keep selling, all right?
Okay,
Our
all right.
Rotary Club left a couple $1,000s on the table because we didn't know
Yeah.
that, so
Very
want
good.
to make
Mine
sure
did
everybody
really well
knows
the
that.
last 2 weeks, so.
Okay, thank you.
So we want you to do better than we did.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Good
all
luck.
right, Thank you.
Next order of business is consideration of a beer license for Addy Bula Incorporated, doing business as Wonderland, located at 121 Spring Street, Suite 100. This is for a Class 3 on-premise beer license. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors, and the recommendation is for approval.
Very good. Is the applicant here tonight? Would you come on up for a minute?
Hi, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just want to state your name and address for the record, please.
Meenu Singh, and business address is 121 Spring Street, Suite 100, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Very good. Have you read the rules and regulations regarding the sale of beer in the city of Johnson City?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to abide by those
I
rules?
will.
Do you have any questions for us?
No.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes. Please tell us about your business. We're excited you're here.
Okay, my name is Meenu Singh. I'm a physician actually, and I'm opening this bar lounge, which will be just a relaxing place. Some cocktails, beer, wine, no loud music, and some finger food. Something different, which we don't have in Johnson City. So I am pretty sure that everybody will be amazed to see that place and will be happy about
Where
it.
exactly is it?
It's in Downtown Square, right in front of yoga studio.
Gotcha.
So just over
that
there.
what-
It used to be a
the
plumber
market?
association before, and
Okay,
then
the pipe fitters, right?
plumber fitters.
The plumber,
They
yeah.
used to, yes, they
okay.
usd to be there.
Right next to
before.
Boomtown or Del
Next
Mar?
to Boomtown, yeah, where they are opening a cereal bar Next
Cereal
to,
bar?
yeah.
Oh.
So next to that.
Pretty awesome, too, if you like cereal. Yeah.
Well, we love diversity
Yeah.
in our downtown.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
It
And
will
we
be.
actually do live in this city, and we actually do know where downtown is. I don't.
I would love to have you
No,
over
where
there.
exactly
and-
is it? It's just to tell everybody
building
exactly
it
where it
is,
is.
Yeah, it's
and,
right in front of,
when's your-
there are apartments upstairs or
Oh, good.
downstairs.
When's your grand opening?
Depends on you guys. Whenever you give me license, I'm ready to open.
Pick it up tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yep.
Great, I'll be there.
All right, very
Good luck.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your next order of business is to make one appointment to the Johnson City Historic Zoning Commission. You have two applicants, Mr. John Baker and Mr. Nathan Brand.
Very good. We have a,
Mayor, I would like to nominate Mr. Nathan Brand, and I really want to, I really appreciate how he has contacted us, done a lot of work. And by the way, I love the mural on the street. There, no, I thought the mayor was, Commissioner Van Brockman was coming in who questioned that a little bit. But anyway, I think your demographic coming on to the Historic Zoning Commission will be a great asset, so that would be my nomination.
very good. Have a second?
Second.
All right. Any other nominations? I don't know, man. Yeah, and I sit up here and complain a lot about looking at lists of applicants of people that I wouldn't know if they were standing on my foot. And I will echo the vice mayor and thank you for your taking the time to contact us and let us know that you were interested, why you were interested. And, you actually showed us a couple of things before you did it. So thank you. Yeah, good luck. We expect great things out of you. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes. Thank you.
Next-
Now you have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
I figured. Your next order of business is to consider a street closure request from the Chamber for their Gearing Up for America's Night Race Block Party to be held on Tuesday, August the 14th. This is a request to close a portion of King Street between Boone and Roan and a portion of Commerce from Market to Roan to close at 3 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday, August the 14th. The appropriate reviews have been made and the recommendation is for approval.
Very good. Do we have any questions for our applicant?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and I think this event is, it's really kind of a regional event because Bristol Chamber and the Kingsport Chamber are all having like events in their cities on different nights.
Yep,
But it's
it-
kind of a series of these things, and I think it's great that chambers have come together as we look at more regional collaboration. So I think it's,
It's one
Good
of those things you go,
opportunity.
why the heck haven't we been doing that? I mean,
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
glad the
smart
track
enough
got
to
everyone
go,
together
so-
and on the same page, and
Yeah.
we're making it a big race week. Get everyone excited for the night race that weekend.
Very good.
Very good. Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes. And tell us a little bit more. Like,
Yeah, so it'll be at King Commons, the first, I know they're doing the movies tonight, but it'll be the first big event, just kind of a community block party. There'll be food trucks, we'll have live music. We're gonna do, Trek, we'll be doing a group ride, just like the Taco Trek, encouraging everyone to wear their NASCAR attire or patriotic gear because it is being coined America's Night Race. So they're gonna be costume contests. And then everyone, the ride ends at King Commons, and that's where everyone just hangs out. There'll be yard games. We're also going to do a slowest bike obstacle race or obstacle course. So you go through the cones as slow as you can without touching.
put my name on that one.
Yeah, that one's a little less intimidating to me.
You have to not touch, you
might
can't
be-
touch the ground.
Yeah, you can't touch the
fall.
ground.
You gotta go slow enough to keep upright. So that's the.
Scratch my name
That's
from
the key.
that.
But that makes it a little more accessible for everyone to try.
Does it have to have 2 wheels or 3?
I'm gonna let the judges of that competition tell you that. I'm not sure.
about balance.
Probably two. But yeah, so we're looking forward to Atlantic Ale House has partnered with us, and they're going to be open, and we'll just have big party in King Commons, getting ready for the race.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You don't have to stay, but Mr. Brand does, yeah. And Mr. Hunter, but he will anyway.
Your next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
Well, left to right, anybody have anything they'd like to pull for individual discussion?
None for me.
Mr. Peters, if we could just have just a quick summary of A4 and D1.
And I'd like to have just a quick chat about C1, since everybody's here for that.
Okay,
A4.
all right, we're going to start with A4. This is a request for a release of a deed of trust and restrictive covenants due to the expiration of time period for a CDBG home loan. These loans are made for buyer assistance, buyer repairs. This particular one was made with a time restriction of, and I'm digging through it, 15 years. And this is actually for an apartment unit over on 8th Avenue, I believe. The 15 years has expired, so under the terms of the original agreement, after 15 years, those restrictions are lifted, and the investment is fully in the hands of the owner, and any indebtedness to the city is forgiven at that point.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I think the next one was,
The D1 will be real quick and simple. This is for school buses, is that correct? It didn't say school on here.
yes, it is. D1 and D2 are both school buses.
Buses, okay.
D1 are the 78 passenger, the big transit style buses that you see. And D2 is for the smaller 30 passenger buses that we need to get into the smaller subdivisions and in areas that don't have a full bus load.
So the
Yes,
city
ma'am.
is funding $550,000 for, is that 6 school buses?
I believe that is 6 of the large buses and 4 of the small
smaller ones.
buses for a grand total of almost $800,000 worth of buses, in addition to the annual operating expenditures that you fund. And in this year's case, you increased the school funding by $500,000 over last year.
But this lies strictly in the city budget,
Correct.
not in the school budget, but it's for the schools because we provide the transportation. for
We
schools.
provide the transportation, so all your labor and operating expense as well as capital expenses reflected in the general fund. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, C1 is the approval for the Langston High School additions and alterations. As you're aware, we had 2 bidders, we had multiple bidders on that project. The low bid for the base bid plus alternate 1 and alternate 2 is Goins, Rash, and Kane. Their base bid plus the 2 alternates is $2,362,500. Alternate 1 is the vestibule area and the new front addition. Alternate 2 is for a brick and ornamental fence that'll go around part of the property. And we had a probably one of the tightest bids I can remember. Tom, there was like $10,000 difference on a $2 million bid. So we had 4 bidders, so it was a good bid market. It was a very competitive bid market, so we feel real sure we got a good bid. I would direct your attention to the last 2 pages of your packet dealing with this particular information. In addition, what we will do will be to award the base bid and then immediately go into, we've already been into discussions with the contractor about some value engineering. There are some deducts in there that are going to total about $55,000 that we can value engineer out of that. And then there's about $270,000 worth of work that we're going to get Public Works to pick up. And I would point out to you, these values were arrived at based on the values that the contractor placed on them. So that's going to include time, materials, machinery, profit, overhead, insurance, bonds. Obviously, we will not have the profit and the overhead and the insurance and the bond expense, so the actual expense to us will be somewhat less than that, but that was the values placed by the contractor. You'll also see that there are some outstanding ancillary costs in addition to the price of the contract. Those total about $250,600. Part of those ancillary costs are $70,000 for concrete and paving materials. Those will be materials that we will need to buy that Public Works will either will use during the course of what they're going to be doing. So I think we have worked very long, very hard on a very, very worthwhile project that will make a tremendous statement for the entrance into our downtown as you come in off the I-26. It also preserves and enhances a significant piece of the history of our community. And all the while doing this, we're able to build a facility that will allow multi-generational, multicultural activities and education, everything from visual and performing arts to perhaps job training and education, a lot of different opportunities here while preserving that building and making a really significant reinvestment into our community. And as we have talked for some time, this also will involve some work in that neighborhood with some streetscape improvements and street lighting and hopefully get in there and help some property owners reinvest into their properties, perhaps with CDBG funds and those types of things. So I think it's been a long time coming. It hasn't been easy to put all the pieces of this together, and we certainly need to recognize the lead group. They expressed to us some time ago that they felt like they could put $500,000 into this project, and they have put everything in place to deliver upon that. So the $500,000 in conjunction with the 1.8 that we have remaining for the project gets us to a price of 2.3, and we feel like that with the addition of the ancillary costs to the contractor's price and then the deducts that we have worked up, that the total probable cost of this project will be $2,289,000. And I would point out that we've got about $160,000 worth of contingency built into this project. So anytime you've got a $2.3 million project and you're within $10,000 of funding, we felt it imperative that we have some contingency funding in place for the things that may come up during the course of the project. So I'm glad to report to you that the pieces have come together and we're able to move this project forward with your approval.
And does that include the fence?
It does include the fence, yes, sir.
Alternate two.
Tom, have I forgotten anything?
No, the only thing I would say is you said award the base bid, but at one point, but it's actually award the base bid and the alternate.
Base bid and the alternates.
Clear to everyone.
Yes, we are recommending award of the base bid and the alternates, both of them.
Any questions? I just have one quick one. The letter we got from the credit union,
Yes, sir.
it's a little unclear as to exactly how that's structured, and maybe, is there anybody, I don't think Mr. Scott's here.
Actually, he is on vacation.
So if I understand it correctly, I just want, and again, if I don't, just let me know, there's $300,000 in the bank.
That's correct.
in deposit, correct? And
Yes, sir.
not pledges, there's 300,000 in the bank.
Yes, sir.
An additional 2 being pledged with a June 2019 deadline for that. If those funds were not to be in hand, that is the facility that the credit union has provided for them?
That's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Is that correct? So it's a line of credit? So if we come, and again, just, I'm slow. So we come up to June 2019, there's $450,000. They'll access a line of credit for the additional 50. So June of 2019, we're whole.
Yes, sir.
No, okay, just want to make sure I understood it correctly. It was not, it just was a little unclear, so, okay. Very good. Any other questions?
I'd just like to make a comment. I think, Mr. Peterson, I think you summarized it very well. This has been a long time in coming, and we were ready to go forward a number of months ago, and then the league group wanted some extra time to look at adding a feature to this building. I think that will make it an exceptional place. And so I know the hard work that you've gone through to raise this money. It's been a real partnership, and I appreciate everybody's hard work in doing that. I think this is just going to be one of the fine points of our city, that we recognize our past, but we position that past and that heritage for the future. And I think there's some real exciting things, particularly for our youth, that will be done there. And it will be, I think for me personally, one of the best ribbon cuttings I will attend in my tenure on the commission. So thank y'all for your very hard work and commitment.
Good work. Anyone else? Very good. Ms. Jennings, call
Oh, you need to move for
a
approval.
motion for
For the
the
consent agenda.
consent agenda. Nothing's been
Second.
pulled yet. Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tomita?
Yes.
Thank you.
Guess everybody's going to
Well, I guess we're going to ordinances.
Ordinances, your first ordinance for consideration is ordinance number 4664-18. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled "An Ordinance to Adopt a Code of Laws and Ordinances for the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by changing from B4 Planned Arterial Business District to R5 High Density Residential District, certain properties located at 0 Mockingbird Lane and North Lane." Ready for your consideration on first reading.
Very good.
A song?
Hassan, you're on.
This is a request to rezone this piece of property on Mockingbird Lane and extending to the end of Nightgate Lane. It's currently zoned B4 and it's requested to be zoned R5, high density residential. It's directly behind the mall. There's a vacant piece of property directly behind the mall. As seen on the zoning map, the mall property is zoned B4, the site itself currently zoned B4. Basically what this rezoning will entail will be an extension of the existing R5 district bordering this piece of property. And in the northwest section of the property is TR5.
Wasn't this previously R5 up until a few years ago when it
Yes.
was rezoned?
It was
Just
rezoned.
because the mall thought it was going to, yeah,
Yes.
okay. So it's really returning it to R5.
To R5 to provide that transition between the business district and the single-family residential district. Staff has reviewed this, recommending approval. The Planning Commission recommending approval.
Very good. Is the petitioner here? No, because I said don't come until second hearing. So, do we have any comments or questions for Hassan? Seems pretty straightforward.
We'll have second reading with public input, is that correct?
Correct. Next meeting will be the 19th, and will be an opportunity for public hearing.
Hassan, the gateways into this new development, where will it will be Mockingbird Lane, and then one
This-
off of Sundale?
Yes, ma'am, this is the concept plan for the project. The access will be from Mockingbird Lane and from Northgate Drive. So at this end, towards Northgate Drive, the developer is proposing to put a traffic calming device because you're entering a single-family neighborhood, and it's important that you slow down traffic and control traffic as it enters into this particular area. It's a 265 units apartment, population estimated in there about 480 to 500, you would say.
I've had some people in the neighborhood that are concerned, especially about entrance and exit during construction, and they were hoping that the construction vehicles will come through Mockingbird and not through Sundale, that other direction coming in. So I think they would appreciate that, and I think our roads would appreciate them not coming in through that neighborhood over the speed bumps and things that are down through there.
We can ensure that that happens when we're reviewing the construction plans, because they're supposed to show the construction entrance. We can limit that to be only on Mockingbird Lane.
And will there be access, other than Mockingbird Lane, will there be any access to the backside of the mall through here, or just on that one end?
Only on this one particular entrance.
Maybe a-
Initially, they
Maybe a
had
walking trail,
proposed.
that'd be good.
Initially, they had proposed an entrance on North Lane, but upon further review, North Lane is a very small street. It will not be good opening up that particular street to this particular project.
Very good. Any discussion?
Move for approval on first reading.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Okay, your next item for consideration is ordinance number 4665-18. This is your annual supplemental budget ordinance. An ordinance appropriating additional funds to the various departments and divisions of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, with the additional revenue from local, state, and federal sources is ready for your consideration on first reading. And Janet, if you would walk the commission through the changes here, please, ma'am.
Also, we did advertise for public hearing on this first reading, so.
That explains the hundreds of people in our chamber.
Yes, it does. I knew you were wondering.
Yes.
We have a
This-
couple of.
This incorporates the amendments that were adopted by the Board of Education, including the General Purpose School Fund, School Food Services Fund, and their 2 grant funds.
They've gotten their final BEP numbers and all that, or are we expecting more amendments?
These are the final amendments. So, we have a few little cleanup items. We do some housekeeping every year, and you'll recall that after the budget was passed, we did a few capital projects. Tannery Knob was one. There were a few other things, like a training room down at Keystone, some things that just came onto the radar after the budget had been adopted. So this cleans up all of those items. Nothing too major, but this will make our budget for the year whole again.
Very good. We need a public hearing on this, so I'll go ahead and open it up because we're going to need a lot of time for this one. I'll open up public hearing on ordinance 4665-18. Anybody here to speak for or against, or would just like to talk? Seeing none, close public hearing. Do I have any questions? Any discussion?
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4662-18. An ordinance to amend ordinance number 4452-12 entitled, an ordinance to adopt a code of laws and ordinances for the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof for permits, tapping fees, and fair user charge system of billing for the use of the Johnson City, Tennessee water system is ready for your consideration on second reading and public hearing.
Must be what the other 100 people are here for tonight. I'll open up the public hearing on ordinance 4662-18. Anybody here to speak for or against? Seeing none, close the public hearing.
Move to approve ordinance 4662-18 on second reading.
All right, we have a motion. How about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4453-12. That doesn't look, no, I'm sorry, 4663-18.
We're amending that.
It's an ordinance to amend ordinance number 4453-12 entitled, an ordinance providing for permits, tapping fees, and a fair user charge system of billing for use of the Johnson City, Tennessee Brush Creek, Knob Creek, and regional wastewater systems, and all ordinances supplementary thereto and amendatory thereof by repealing ordinance 4453-12 and enacting the following provisions in lieu of and instead thereof. Ready for your consideration on second reading.
Very good. I'll open up public hearing on ordinance 4663-18. Anybody here to speak for or against? Seeing none, close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
How about a second? Have a motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4661-18. An ordinance contracting the corporate limits of Johnson City, Tennessee is ready for your consideration on third and final reading.
Any questions?
Move for approval on third reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is to consider bond reimbursement resolution for water and sewer system improvements for fiscal year 2019 budget. There's going to be a couple of these bond reimbursement resolutions. They all center around, this allows us to go ahead and expend funds on these projects prior to the issuance of debt or the receipt of grants. And that enables us to get the projects moving. And then whenever we receive grant funding or funding from a debt issuance, it allows us to reimburse our cash position that we have spent down during the time period prior to the debt issuance. This particular one is for water sewer system improvements, and we would recommend your approval.
Very good. Any
Move for
discussion? No?
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
Next order of business is to consider a bond reimbursement resolution for capital project funds, general obligation for the fiscal year 2019 budget. The 19 budget contemplates the issuance of $4.9 million worth of bonds for a variety of different projects. Again, this will allow us to begin the project moving forward prior to the issuance of debt and allow us to reimburse ourselves.
Move for approval.
Motion, second.
Second.
Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Temita?
Yes.
The next item is a bond reimbursement resolution for the solid waste system improvements for the fiscal year 2019.
Any questions?
Move for approval.
Have a motion, how about a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tumita?
Yes.
And you have added to your agenda, discussion of the Wilson property will be your last item on the docket for this evening.
Very good. We had intended to have that on the agenda, but then had some questions come up about procedure and thought we'd get answers to those questions. And amazingly, we got them fairly quickly because it was Monday that these questions were posed to us. Even with the holiday, we got answers to the questions. And the questions involved whether that property could be used for our Optimus Park conversion, allowing us to sell the Kiefhofer property. The answer is probably, but there's a process to go through. And it doesn't appear that that process is going to take quite as long as it did the last time, because I know we were talking about the Kiefhofer conversion when I first came on the commission. They give us a year to get all our information in. If it were to take longer than that, that's on them, and that would be fine. There's a fee, $10,000 fee to begin that process. But I think in the discussions that we've had, Parks and Rec has presented that property to us. Every time we ask them to look at something different, they seem to come back with that same property. And, as annexation laws have changed, it makes sense to begin looking at making investments closer into our central area, allowing more of our residents to use those assets than if we put them out on the periphery. This kind of fits that bill. The proximity to Buffalo Valley, or Winged Deer, makes it a pretty, Buffalo Valley. Freudian slip. I've been talking about Buffalo Valley a lot this week, too, so strike that, Zach, I didn't say Buffalo Valley. But we have the funds to purchase that property budgeted, but we have not taken formal action, and we're waiting on that action. The only, and I think I shared the email that we got from Nashville that said the only thing we can't do is designate it as recreational property. That we can contract, you can enter into a contractual agreement to buy it, we can buy it. There is no guarantee that it will be approved, the conversion. I can't imagine, well, I won't say that because we're talking about the state government and federal government, but it would seem to stand to reason that that would be a suitable replacement for some ball fields that are at Optimus Park, and makes better sense than putting a large investment into something actually that is not in the city limits of Johnson City right now. Granted, we can annex it. But it will give us an option. Doesn't necessarily mean we do anything with Kiefhofer, but if we could unencumber it, it would give us an option that we don't have now. So Dr. Van Brocklin was going to bring that up tonight, and I'm doing that in his absence, hoping that things are still okay in his office. We're praying for him. So what I'd like to do is offer make a motion to instruct our city manager to begin conversations with Mr. Wilson on purchase of the property on Bristol Highway, not for an amount not to exceed $1.4 million.
Mayor, I'll second that, and just a comment. I know we've looked extensively for the last few years and had estimates of what it would cost to build a sports complex, and, we're up in the $25-30 million. This property is contiguous to Winged Deer Park, and really, over time, its development would really give us that sports complex. And our citizens are kind of trained to go to Winged Deer Park. It has ample parking. It's on the lakefront when it's back, which makes it a real unique place for sports tourism and for our citizens to go out. So I'm in favor of it, and I'll second that again.
And this does not minimize our interest in a Boones Creek project, but it's kind of out of our hands right now. We're waiting, so I think we move ahead. We can always readjust as time goes on. We've already talked about beginning. I don't want there to be an expectation that there's going to be a complex there tomorrow. This is going to be a process as we can afford it. I think we started like what we've talked about was starting at what will be once again the lake and moving closer into town. But again, I think that's a better use of that property. It just never made sense to me. When the annexation laws changed, Kefauver just did not present what it presented when it was purchased. Not being critical of the fact that it was purchasing, the law was different back then, and it looked like we'd be growing pretty rapidly out in that area. So I'm all for getting our infrastructure, beefing it up closer to town. So.
I think this is kind of land banking, getting that land. It's, one chance to really be able to get something that's all together.
If I may comment, you
Absolutely.
may want to delay this vote until next time, till more of the commissioners are here, because I do want to bring up that this land we've talked about forever, since the rock pile was discussed, since I got here 2 years ago at least. So, yeah, looking at that property, yes, it would be great to have that property. I don't like the price, and I have discussed that many times, that this land was bought by a real estate broker years ago from an auction for $600,000. He's been paying taxes. It was tax assessed at $360,000 years ago, and that's what he's been paying taxes on. It's been for sale for $1.1 million for a long time. Then he had it assessed for $1.4 and will not come down from that. I do not think that's the price we should pay for this. I think if I was buying this land myself, I wouldn't want to buy that. So I don't really want to pay taxpayer money to pay that much for this land. I like where it is. I think it's a great place to have the land. I just don't think we should pay that much for it.
Well, we can, a not to exceed price doesn't mean that Mr. Peterson can't negotiate.
Were those numbers correct that I stated?
I believe so, yes.
Because we looked them up together, so.
And I think as we have this, and we need to have this open debate on this property, there are a lot of other factors if it develops into, I think I hear thunder out there.
Yep.
We save on maintenance cost when we look at keeping all of our fields and things like that together, that over a short period of time, it would really reduce the cost of that if we had to go out someplace outside of this area to find that land and then to take maintenance out there. So, let's have the discussion and make sure everything's out on the table, and we do our due diligence, which we've been doing a lot of it, but, yeah.
But allow Mr. Peterson to formally begin. We can always, if everybody gets back, not trying to do this, I thought we'd have 4 tonight. In fact,
We'll have the final vote on whether to move forward or not, but it's just
Yep.
to be able to move forward.
but let's go ahead and get the process started. If it comes back, we can always, there's very little we can do that we can't undo. So I'd like to give Mr. Peterson the opportunity to officially start those negotiations, so. All right. So we have motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Jennings, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Fowler?
I will vote yes for the discussion with them, not approving the entire
That's all it
amount.
says, right?
So I'm just restating that.
Vice Mayor Brock?
Yes.
Mayor Tomita?
Yes.
All right, I would bring to your attention your May financials are in your packet. We're on the path to finish out the fiscal year 18 in very good position. Revenues and our expenditures are in line with what we had projected, and we should have unaudited June numbers probably in another 20 or 30 days, and obviously, it will be December before we have the final audited numbers, and I'm sure that the auditors have probably been here weeks ago, beginning their preliminary things, and we'll probably start the audit process in earnest August, September.
September.
So we're going to close out the year in good shape, and as you all are aware, there are a number of projects and equipment and things in the FY19 budget, and a lot of those pieces are in motion. So things are moving nicely.
Well, Mr. Peterson, I'd just like to say, when I look back over this year of what the 2018 budget funded, there has been a lot accomplished in Johnson City, Tennessee, and I think our citizens recognize that. Having the downtown, come on even more, we need to pay that same kind of attention outside of the downtown area as well. Got a lot of good projects ongoing there. But really thank all the staff, and I know they've done it, looking at their budgets and being as efficient as they possibly can with their departmental budget, so thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks to all of them.
Very good. Dr. Fowler, anything you would like to say?
We've had a couple of really great nights with Johnson City Cardinals with new amount of people seeing games, the new records a couple of nights in a row, which is great. So keep supporting our hometown team.
And just wanted to send our condolences to the Plemons family. Lee Plemons was a fixture down at the downtown clinic, the day clinic, and passed away last week. So we send our prayers to his family. And happy birthday, America. We had a great night last night.
Sounds like we have fireworks right
We had one go in the wrong direction, but nothing got hit,
got
right?
hurt.
We good?
So we're all right.
We're good with that? And yes,
God is giving us some fireworks right now, so everybody be safe.
thank you.
Did you make it last night?
I did.